Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Timmy, your host, and well, it happened. I competed at Africa's Strongest Man 2024 in the under 90 kilo novice division. I did pretty well. So if you don't know, I am at the moment still amateur strongman from South Africa. I'm 18 years old. My name is Timion, but Timmy, Timmy is fine. Uh, And for the last year, I have been prepping for the biggest competition on the continent, and that is Africa's Strongest Man. Though, to be fair, for about half the year, I was prepping for South Africa's Strongest Man, but I think probably about June, July, we found out that the two competitions were being merged. I think out of convenience. Africa's Strongest Man kind of goes around Africa where it takes place, and this year was taking place in South Africa. And for some or other reason, they decided to merge the competitions. So out of everyone that competes, they get their placings according to Africa's, but at the same time, you also get medals and such for how you place in relation to the other South African athletes. And well, let me not keep it from you. I got 2 medals. I placed third in Africa's and second in essence, South Africa's Strongest Man. You might be wondering why the tag isn't on the medal anymore. I think they're a little bit too heavy for the ribbons. So mine broke, but it was not my fault. So let's first get into exactly what it means when I say I placed second in Africa's and third in Africa's and second in South Africa. What I am saying is that I competed in the under 90 kilo novice division. Now, what do those two things mean? First of all, under 90 kilos. Strongman has 4 weight divisions. For men, women have different weight divisions. They are under 80 kilos, that's about 180 pounds. Under 90 kilos, which is like 198 pounds. Under 105 kilos, which is about 230 pounds. And the open weight. That is, you can weigh as much as you want. That's where you get guys like Hafthor Bjornsson and Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall, who weigh 200 kilos, which is like 450 pounds, and just move mountains. I'm not one of those. I'm a lightweight, or yeah, I'm a lightweight. Let's call it that. My brother who competes in under 80 kilos, I call him a featherweight because as we have the 4 classes, we have heavyweight, middleweight, lightweight, and of course featherweight. So I'm a lightweight, but he's a featherweight, so I'm bigger. But either way, the second tag, the second qualifier before I competed and I did well, was novice. Now, what is novice? Strongman has essentially 4 divisions that all apply to the weight classes. We have junior, novice, pro-am, which is short for professional amateur, and masters. Now, let's work in reverse order. Masters is over 40 years old. Then there is Pro-Am, which is the big boys. That's the important guys. That's the peak standard for that weight class's strength. Then you get Novice, which is supposed to be for first-time competitors, me. And then you get Juniors, which is also me. Here's the thing. When I signed up for the competition, I wanted to compete in Juniors because I've been competing in Juniors the entire year, but the competition did not have a Juniors class. And so I had to compete in either novice or pro-am. They automatically placed me into novice. I could have chosen to go to pro-am, but I decided not to for 2 reasons. First of all, I would have to go through a whole process to get moved from novice to pro-am, especially seeing as it was 2 weeks out from competition that I found out. So they had things set in a certain way, and I'd probably have to argue a bit. And the second reason is, well, I said novice is supposed to be for first-time competitors. It isn't a rule, more a suggestion. So a lot of the guys in the novice class are, for lack of a better way of saying it, sandbagging the division. They should move up to Pro-Am, but they don't because they can see the strength standards in Pro-Am and they know they won't fare well, so they stay in novice because they know they'll get a medal. It's not very nice for me to say this, but it just is true. So I decided, let's stay in novice. And let's show that me, a first-time competitor, or rather, it's my first year competing. I've been at other competitions, but it's my first year, and it's my first time at such a large competition. Let's show that a first-time competitor can beat these guys. Let me show that these guys, they can sit here for as long as they want, but they should move up. They shouldn't be a novice. Let's go and decimate them, which both worked and backfired. So there we have it. I've explained exactly what these two trophies mean. So keep in mind, there is a grain of salt here. There are two qualifiers. I'm not a heavyweight, and I'm not a professional or amateur. Novice under 90 kilos. Let's be clear. So, what were my goals going into this competition? Well, we've already kind of covered one. Obviously, win. Second, show everyone else up and show that I belong. And the third, which is a bit more obscure, we all know what a deadlift is, right? It's where you pick up a barbell off the ground, stand up, and lower it back down again. There are different deadlift records, one of which is the junior deadlift record for, I think, Africa. And that sits at 235 kilos currently. Well, actually, no, not anymore. It's now 240. But it was 235. It was set by a guy I've competed against a few times. His name is Sean Borsov. Absolutely immense deadlift strength. In fact, in the last competition we were in, he wanted to pull 240, and he'd done it in the gym before. And I knew he could do it, but they misloaded it to 260, and that's why he couldn't do the 240. But his record was 235, and I wanted to break it. I wanted 240 because I'd done 220 before, and I thought that I would be able to do 240 in competition. Now, so yeah, that was one of my goals. So we established all that. Now let's get into the actual story. So it was about probably 2 months, 2.5 months out from competition. I started a pretty intense program where I mixed a few intense programs together. I decided to do the squats from Super Squats while doing Doug Hepburn's Program B, strict pressing, which is just pain. Just Google it. The Alex Bromley video on it is very informative. He explains it better than I could. And on top of that, doing the bench protocol from Smolov Jr., as well as just for fun, doing burnout sets on candlesticks at the end of every workout, just to get a bit of ab workout in. That didn't go well. I flew back to Johannesburg probably 2 weeks into this, where I had been doing well. I hadn't missed a workout. I'd been doing very well. And I got really sick. And what coincided with this was my sister's wedding. And I was running around so much that I could not eat enough and did not have enough time to train. So I couldn't do it. I got sick. I didn't have time for it. I could not eat enough. And so I stopped training for about 2 weeks. And then I got healthy. And after these 2 weeks went by, I realized, well, I decided, I already programmed ahead. I have this peaking protocol that was supposed to be 6 weeks. But now I've wasted 2 of these 6 weeks from my high volume training protocol. Now I can either continue that and only have 4 weeks to peak, or I can just scrap it and have 8 weeks to peak. My brother told me just continue it and peak over 4 weeks. I decided, no, I'm just going to peak over 8 weeks. I don't want to mess up my peak. And so I spent the next 8 weeks peaking for this. Now, what that allowed me to do was also peak for a few other things. For example, during this peaking, I managed to peak for a bench press PR, a strict press PR, and at some point I just decided, let's have some fun, because the volume was so low, I didn't feel I was training enough, so I just decided to do a few lifts for fun. But yeah, let's get into them. So the first 3, let's go over them first, and then we'll get to the 2 that I actually prepped for. First one, I shouldered a 120 kilo sandbag. I don't have a video of it, but it was very cool. The second thing, I managed a 170 kilo Zercher squat. There you can see. And then after that, I managed a new overhead PR, all-time PR. I did a split jerk with 120 kilos. Terrible technique, but two things I actually peaked for. I managed an 85 kilo bench, which is significant for me. Let me explain. Oh, what did did I say bench? I meant strict press. An 85 kilo strict press. This is significant for me because a few months ago, I asked my brother what his best ever strict press PR was, and he said 80 kilos. So I decided, okay, let's do better than that. And I managed 81 kilos. Then a week later, he strict pressed 85. um, and so I decided, okay, well, I've got to outdo him again. Let's go for 90. And over the course of this program, I tried 90. I managed to peak up to 90, but I failed. I failed 90, but I had managed to double 85 kilos. So I did manage to prove that we were at least relative in pressing strength. Bench press. My best ever bench at this point was 100 kilos. And at this point, I didn't have a rack to bench out of. So I just trained bottom up bench all the time. All the time. And I didn't think it was helping me that much until one day I managed to triple 98 kilos in bottom up bench, which just kind of broke my brain. I was like, how? Where did this come from? I haven't been getting stronger. It just all hit me all of a sudden. And then the next week I maxed out and I managed a 110 kilo bench. So yeah, it was actually very surprising to me. My bench had never been a very good exercise. I've always been very weak on pressing. And then all of a sudden it just popped up like 10 kilos. I'd always have to scrape and work for those 5 kilo increments. But then all of a sudden it just pops by 10 kilos, which is very surprising to me. So yeah, I clearly I got a lot strong. I actually forgot. There was a sixth thing. I listed the 5, but there was one more. I don't know if you can hear that, but a guy just drove by, so yeah. I wanted, on one of those days where I wasn't doing much and I just had energy, I wanted to max something out. And I decided, well, let's just max out clean and jerk. Let's see how much I can do. I actually did it twice, once on an axle and another time on a barbell. And the two numbers were, I managed to muscle clean. No, there was a bit of knee bend. Let's call it a power clean. And then jerk 100 kilo axle, and I did the same on a barbell, just power cleaning it, and then split jerking it. And then I attempted 110 kilos and failed it 5 times because my technique is just so horrible that I would end up getting it up here, but being basically parallel to the ground with my upper body, and then it just fall forward, just yanking the weight off the ground. Yeah, there you have it. That was the axle, but I don't have video of the on the bar. But anyways, let's get into the actual competition. So, as a person who was competing under 90, my weight had been fluctuating between say like 89 and 91 quite a bit. So I wanted to just make sure I made weight. I didn't really cut weight. I just didn't eat or drink anything for the day before weigh-ins, and I weighed in at, I think it was 87.8. So I lost about 2 kilos of weight just by not eating or drinking for one day. That shows you how much people can cut weight for competitions. One day of not eating or drinking, and I lost like 2 kilos, 2.5 kilos. It was insane. Anyways, I made weight. And then we were off to the competition. So we, last year when my brother competed, I didn't compete last year. We didn't stay at the place where the competition was being held. We actually stayed at my dad's place, which is probably 40 kilometers away, and we would drive each morning. This time we rented a room to stay in at the place it was happening, which is Steineck Lodge in Rustenburg. And yeah, it was nice. It was myself, my brother, my mother, and some of my brother's friends were there as well. They were competing because he'd roped them into the pyramid scheme that is strongman. And so we getting ready. Next morning comes, and just to get a bit of invigoration before the fight, we decided let's see Mike Tyson just have the final fight of his career, and let's hope he wins. And that kind of spoiled the day. Same thing happened the next day, actually, when we saw Stipe Miocic get crumbled by John Jones. So yeah, that wasn't fun. But onto the actual competition. What were the events for the competition? So there were 6 events in this competition, and they were as follows. Apollons for reps. An Apollon is an axle. Axle for reps. My weight class, it was 90 kilos overhead, and you have 60 seconds to complete it. The second event was max deadlift. Powerlifting style, you get 3 attempts. If you go for a record, you can keep on going to a 4th attempt. If you make that, you can once again keep on going to a 5th attempt. It's essentially, as long as you don't fail, you can keep going for records. Third event was the farmer's walk, which for my weight class was 110 kilos per hand, and it was a 20-meter course. Then the fourth event, which was on the second day, was it was the sandbag over bar. It was a medley, actually, not just sandbags. So there were 3 implements. The first was a 100-kilo sandbag, second was a 110-kilo keg, and the third was a 120-kilo sandbag. The bar was, I think it was either 1.3 or 1.5 meters off the ground, so it's about that high. The second last event was the super yoke, which for me was 240 kilos over a 20-meter course. And the final event was an Atlas stone over bar, which was, the bar was once again either 1.3 or 1.5. I can't remember which way around they were, but the one was the one and the other. Yeah. For us, the Atlas stone weighed, we were told it was going to weigh 90 kilos coming into prep. But then it turned out they didn't have a 90-kilo stone. So they'd either give us a 75 stone or they'd give us the 110 stone. They gave us the 110 stone. In prep, I'd never touched an Atlas stone before. I found some guys who had Atlas stones at a gym called Area 51, also in Johannesburg. They had a bunch of Atlas stones, but they also had a pretty big jump. So with them, I went to train, and I managed a 68-kilo stone. Tried a few more times, did a few high pulls with the 80-kilo sandbag, and then went to their next heavier stone, which was 112 kilos. And I just barely managed to get that onto the platform, but I did it without any chalk or tacky. Apparently, that was very impressive. I didn't know that, but apparently very impressive. Because later I found out that my brother had also found a place to practice stones at, but he was in Cape Town. And they just barely managed a 100-kilo stone and couldn't get the 120 stone. And they needed tacky for the 100-kilo stone. So I was very impressed, very proud of myself. But on the day, as I said, it was a 110-kilo stone. You get a minute to see how many reps you can do. So let's get into what actually happened. One thing that I forgot to mention was that there were 8 guys in the division, one of whom was from Zambia and the other 7 all from South Africa. So we were 8 of us competing for the African title and 7 competing for the South African title. Now, the first event, the Apollons for reps, or the axle for reps, our weight was 90 kilos and I managed 6 reps, although officially only 5, because on my second rep, I didn't wait for the down command before I brought it down.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Easy, Magnus. Yes. Easy. What? Down. 1. Yes. Breathe and up. Breathe and up. Right for the ball. And the ball. Down. Yes. There we go. Right for the ball. Kick. Slow. There we go. Down. Finish. 1, 2.
Got 28 seconds left.
3. Let's go. You're now up from goal. Nog weer, Magnus.
Up. There we go.
Philips. Kiek terug en kijk voor die bal. Van weer.
So So yeah, that was very disappointing. But at the end of the day, with only 5 reps, I still received 5 points, placing 4th out of our 8 guys, which is, as a guy who knows is not the greatest at static events, especially in these sort of competitions, was better than I had hoped. I thought I would place middle of the pack. So even with that 1 rep disallowed, I placed 4th out of the 8 guys. Now, in the second event, the deadlift max, on my, let me just find it quickly, there we go. On my first attempt, I pulled 200. It was pretty fast, pretty quick. And then on my second lift, I pulled 220.
Kan je net zo op je video call lopen?
Hello, girlfriend. Hello, girlfriend.
So after this 220, as I said previously, I was very much looking forward to taking that junior deadlift record. And so I had them load up 240 and I tried it, but...
Let's cheer for you. Go! Come on! Chicken, come on, right way. Let's go for it. Africa record, Junior. Let's go.
Kom te me.
Go, buddy.
Sterk die buddy.
Come on.
Kom dan.
Well done. Unfortunately not.
So yeah, as you can see, very disappointing, failed that. And right afterwards, another guy who was competing in the under 80 kilos novice broke the junior record when he pulled 240. Another guy tried 245, but he just couldn't manage it. So yeah, props to that guy. I'm very excited to see what happens next year when the other guy who used to hold the record comes back from the international competition he went to and takes his record back. Now, that placed me, I got 3 points, so I came third last out of all 8 guys. Deadlift is not my best event. Anyways, next event, Farmer's Walk. It was 110 kilos per hand, and my official time was 11.22 seconds. That's carrying it over a 20-meter distance. And that placed me second place for that event. Second place for Africa's, and first for SA's. The only guy who beat me was the Zambian guy. So I didn't actually realize that I placed second in this event. I thought another guy had also beat me. I thought I was third. I only found out after the competition I was second. So I was thinking, oh, well, that's a bit of a disappointment. I thought I'd do better. So it wasn't actually that big of a morale high afterwards. But that is the end of day number 3. And at this point, I'm pretty much middle of the pack. I placed decently in the axle for reps. I did terrible in the deadlift. And I did exceptionally well in the axle press. But I thought I was placing slightly worse than I actually did at the time. Thought I had 1 less point. Anyways, next up, we get the carry and load medley. Let me find myself. There we go. In the carry and load medley, I once again came second. I managed the first 2 implements with a time of 18.80 seconds. That's in total. The guy who came first actually finished it slightly faster than I did. He managed 18.2 seconds, but he managed to get the 3rd implement as well. I only was able to get that sandbag to the bar, and I didn't manage to get it over.
Ready? Ready? Go. There we go. There we go. Nice. Kom, lekker wassel. Lekker wassel. Kom, 5k. Kom, 5k. There we go. Tel hem op. There we go. Kom, druk op. Gaan zitten. Oh, lekker work. Stijf. Work en stijf. Kom. There we go. Kom, krijg dat laatste in. Kom, Tammy. Kom. 30 seconds. You got it. Come on. There we go. Come. There we go. Come. There we go. Come, walk it. Kom, je eet hem, Tammy. Je eet hem. Lekker work. Kom. Come on! Come
9 seconds.
on up.
Okay, on reaching side,
So once again, we have a very good placement in a moving event. Now for the second last event, the penultimate event, the yoke walk. Let me find myself quickly. Sorry, this is a Excel spreadsheet and it's not perfectly aligned, so every time I have to scroll, but to find where I'm listed. From the under 90 guys, I managed a time of 14.09 seconds, getting me a third place finish after the guy who managed it in 11.9 seconds and another guy in 10.5 seconds. So it was a pretty big gap between everyone. After me, there was a guy who managed 15.41, so not that big of a gap, but behind him 17.53 and 55.34. And then there were two guys who couldn't complete the course, so they got distance measurements.
Ready?
Hello.
Come on. There we go. Come. Run up. That's it. That's it. Come. Wait at the end. Come on. Alipad. Come. Keep it going. Alipad to it.
As I said, that placed me third in that event, and I'm feeling good now because I placed relatively okay in the axle. I basically bombed the deadlift. It went terribly. But now I have 3 moving events where I've placed within the top 3. And I'm thinking, well, in this last event, let's see what I can do. At this point, we knew there was one guy, his name's Dylan, who had won every single event. Actually, no, not every event. He won 3 events. He placed middle of the pack in the farmers, which at the time I thought he won, but we later found out that he placed roughly middle of the pack. So that wasn't to his favor. And on the deadlift, he came second. He and the guy who came first both decided at some point, let's not go further because I know you can deadlift more than me. I'm not going to push you because I'm just going to have to wear myself out as well. So they decided not to max out deadlift, but they still won the event and came second. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to beat Dylan, but it was myself. I knew I would have to compete with the Zambian guy who was, I think at this point, 2 points up for me. I had to compete with him to see who can place second. And so going into the Atlas Stones, let me find myself here. I managed 4 reps with the 110 kilo stone.
One.
Go. Nice. There we go. Awkward. On fast. There we go. Come on. Go. Come to me. Come. That's it. There we go. Oh. There we go. Kom. Zoek nog 3. Kom. That's it.
Come on.
That one. There we go.
come on. You can do it.
Kom, je doet één.
One more.
Kom to me. Go. Yeah, buddy. Move it. Kom.
One more. 10 seconds. Go.
Go. Oh, yeah.
So there you have it, 4 reps. I was extremely happy with this because, as I said in prep, I managed a 112 stone for a single. Here I had tacky on my arms, so it was a bit easier, actually a lot easier. But yeah, I was very happy with it. But that got me a third place finish in that event, which gave me another 6 points. And the guys who beat me was Dylan. He came first with 8 reps. And the Zambian guy, he got 6 reps. And so at the end of the day, he managed to beat me. And so on the final scorecards, first place has 42 points. Second place, the Zambian, has 40 points. And I have 35 points. Then after that, it's 32, 28, 13, 11, and 9. So I got pretty handily defeated by the guys ahead of me. But at the same time, there's a very small gap between me and the guy behind me. And then after that, it's massive gap. So, how do I feel about this competition? Well, I'm feeling very happy. I managed to do what I set out to do. I did not win the competition, but as I said previously, the division has a bit of a problem with sandbagging, and the 2 guys who beat me were also first-time competitors, and I managed to beat all the guys who have been sandbagging the division for years on end. In fact, the guy who won the division, his older brother, is the guy who repeatedly wins or comes second in the pro am for under 90 kilos. And this was his first time competing. So, him winning is not that much of a surprise because he trains with the best of the best all the time. So him in his inaugural show just running away with the competition is not really that big of a surprise. The Zambian guy, his name is Thomas. I saw him at the start. He was very, very kind of shy, very contained, but he was a very nice guy. And at the end, he just 5 points is a big difference. I'll say that. As for the South African scoring, where I ended up second. The scoring follows as such: 38, 33, 31, 27, 13, 11, and 9. So there, once again, I got beaten pretty handily, not by as much of a gap. It's once again 5 points, but it's 5 instead of 7, as it was in the African rankings. And then behind me, 2-point gap, and then another 4-point gap, and then a massive drop. So it was a very competitive competition. There were a lot of times when we got very close. For example, the farmer's walk. How it worked is we had 2 farmer's walks right next to each other. In fact, you saw the video. And we were very neck on neck. I think he finished third in that event. Actually, Sean was the guy I was up against. And we were just right on each other's necks. He got off just before I did. And it's just every single event, it was close. The only one where it wasn't was the deadlift. But that's not because I ran away with it. It's the opposite. It's because I'm terrible at deadlifts, at least on the standard of strongman and competitions. But yeah, there you have it. There's the entire thing that happened at Africa's Strongest Man. Just a few quick shout outs. My brother, he also competed. He competed in the under 80 kilos pro-am. Last year he competed and he came second to the guy who's been winning the division for the last 7 years, Marcus. But this year, he absolutely ran away with it, my brother. He tied for first on the first event, came second in the second event, won the third, won the fourth, won the fifth, and once again tied for first on the final event. After the fifth event, we calculated and saw that he wouldn't even have to compete in the final event in order to win the competition. He could have 0 points, gain 0 points, and the other guy get all the points for winning it, and he would still win the competition. Yeah, dog's barking. Sorry. So for him, absolute congratulations to him. He worked hard for this, and he absolutely destroyed the competition. Aside from that, there are 2 other guys that went with us. Their names are Tarkon and Bjorn. They competed in the under 80 kilos novice, and both of them did well. They placed second and third in that division. I think that division was only South African, so it's the same for African and South African ranking. And then finally, someone else who came with us, Casey. She was in the women's, I think it was women's 60, women's 74. She came first in that division, so congrats to her. And yeah, overall, it was a very fun experience being able to go to a competition like this. I've been training for it all year. It was very exciting actually being there, actually being able to show what I've been preparing, show what I'm capable of doing. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to go around bragging because it's a novice competition. I've got the novice second place and novice third place. So I don't have bragging rights. I have bragging rights when I tell people the stuff I do in training, or I can brag about the weights that I lifted, but I'm not going to go around bragging I won the novice division, or I didn't win, came second or third in the novice division, because that would just be disingenuous. But next year, what are the plans for next year? Well, I am competing in the under 90 kilo division, Pro-Am, next year. I don't see the point in competing as a novice perpetually. It's cool to do the first time, just to dip your toes into the water, just to feel it out, just to see how it's going. But you shouldn't compete in it perpetually, because that's not what it's for. That's not what it's meant for. If anything, if you do, you're just showing everyone that you know you'll lose if you compete against the guys in the Pro-Am division. So next year I'm moving, staying at the same weight, well, what that really means is gaining body weight, but actually water cutting, cutting weight to make competition. So I'll probably weigh around 95 to 98 throughout the year, and then just cut to 90, or well, 89.5 or 89.9. We'll see how close I can cut it, and compete in the Pro-Am division so that I can get actual bragging rights. And I plan on, once again, winning next year's Africa's Strongest Man in the Prime division under 90. It's a steep hill to climb. I know, once again, it doesn't matter how fast I grow my deadlift. There's no way I'll win that at the end of the year, but I'll be able to win events like a farmer's walk because I'm good at farmer's walks. I'll be able to win a yoke because I'm good at yokes. And I think I'll be able to win sandbags. If there's stones, I'll win stones. Recently, I've discovered I'm just insanely good at stones. But yeah, no. There we have it. That's what happened. That's the plan. I want to say thank you guys for watching. I know I always say, oh, well, more videos coming, and they never come. So this is like a 3-month hiatus between every 2 videos. But I'm going to be trying to upload again more frequently. I reckon I'll probably load again in a few days to a week, just to update on what's happened since Africa's. And yeah, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, notification bell, all that jazz. But yeah, no. Cheers.